Hey everybody, today I want to talk about the internet marketing pyramid scheme that I narrowly avoided. Basically, the story is about how I uh, encountered this world where people were successfully selling thousands of dollars of product to unsuspecting people. And sure, there are people who sell courses that expensive that arguably do provide a lot of value, but this wasn't one of them. So, to explain the story and why I'm telling you this, it's because this company I just found out recently has been shut down by the FTC. They've been demanded to pay back uh, tens of millions of dollars to the government, and all their properties were seized, and it's just a really bad rep, and they're banned from ever selling coaching services again. And the company's called MOBE, My Online Business. I forgot what the E stands for, but My Online Business Empire, something like that. But to bring it back, I want to start at the beginning of the story because that's really uh, a different time. It was a time when things weren't as clear for me or others, and it kind of seemed like a, you know, potentially good opportunity. So I found out about them a few years ago because I'm always into learning how to improve internet marketing, social media marketing. I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and all his tips on how to grow a following and be a YouTuber. And I've been following that industry for a long time. I've bought really expensive courses and gone to really expensive events. Not super often, but I have. So I bought Tim Smoyer's course, and then I also bought Daryl Eves' ticket to his second ever Vid Summit event, where nowadays you have speakers like Mr. Beast at Vid Summit. So anyhow, I'm very picky with the courses, but I do choose to invest in myself. And if I do invest, it's one of those ones. And with this one, the first time I ever heard about this was through John Chow. John Chow was one of the first ever internet marketing blogs, and he, from what I was told, he was one of the first to publish income reports on the money he made through his internet marketing efforts. And I found out about him many years later, too, after his start. And I was just like, oh, this is interesting. You know, he has this blog and he has this YouTube channel. And usually he's like driving like a fancy car, like a Tesla or a Ferrari. And you're like, okay, he seems to have a decent amount of money. And you go to his blog and it's fairly simple. You know, the posts, he posts like every day a new blog post. They're very short, concise posts. And based on my experience and knowledge in search engine optimization and blogging, I'm like, you know, these, I suppose these work, but they're a little outdated for their time. They're very like short, concise posts and like stock imagery. It was a very like, almost like several years, maybe even like uh, from a different decade. But I suppose he had found a formula that worked and he had continued with it. And it just didn't feel that modern to me, or as thorough of articles as really work really well today. Like nowadays, it's really those very engaging, thorough articles with like different pictures and graphics and videos that are more than 200, 300, 500 words long that really rank well on search engine optimization. But anyhow, you know, he would write these small posts on anything from email marketing, segmentation to, you know, how to make your first dollar online. And so most of that stuff I would kind of skim through, and it was like stuff I already kind of knew, advice I already knew. But I started watching a lot of his YouTube videos because I figured, you know, maybe he has something that I'm missing because he seems to be making a lot of money. Maybe I'm not. So anyhow, you know, his videos are fairly informative, but since I was so into like studying millionaires and stuff, a lot of it I already kind of knew. It was kind of like advice on the millionaire mindset and more or less on email segmentation. And, you know, every now and then I did pick up a nice little tidbit, but a lot of it was like, okay, I've heard this before. You know, that's what a millionaire thinks. That's what an average person thinks. So I was just kind of like, okay, scratching my head a bit, but still kind of convinced. You know, this guy has um, something extra. And so I kept watching his videos and learning those insights. Even if it took like a few videos, I would pick up something new. And long story short, I never ended up purchasing anything from him. The main and really only product that he kept promoting was to sign up for this thing called MOBE. And he kept saying how he was an affiliate and he didn't have to do any work because the company itself supplied the sales teams and the infrastructure, and all he had to do was drive traffic to it. And if they made a sale, he got like 50% commission, which was like $500 or thousands of dollars. And so that's how he made what seemed like, you know, 6 figures, 5 figures a month from it. So I was like, okay, that's very interesting. And I looked into it and I was like, you know, I don't know. And so it's funny because back then I just wasn't sure. You know, you're young, you don't know, it may work, it may not. Seems like he's making a good living, and so you don't never know. But something in my gut was just telling me I'm not sure. I don't want to pull the trigger yet because, quite frankly, like a lot of the advice, like I was a fairly experienced marketer. I knew about search engine optimization, how to run Facebook ads, and it was tough. You know, I was running, you know, doing all this stuff on my own blog, and maybe I'm just not good at it, but I wasn't making much money at all from it. I was making, you know, pennies from, you know, Amazon Associates and other affiliate programs. And it was just kind of putting information out there to help people. So the long and short of it is I ended up eventually kind of like stumbling onto that MOBE landing page and just filling it out just to see what would happen, next. And of course they had their offers, you know, their $49 product and then free trainings. And then really what they kept, they marketed me with, which they did fairly well, was with this live training event. And they had these live training events all over the country, and there's one nearby, and they sent like physical mail to me, you know, with like a card, and it said like, here's your premium, you know, exclusive VIP ticket to attend this event. So, you know, on the surface it was like, okay, this is pretty nice. It wasn't super fancy or anything, it was just a postcard, but they made it look nice. And I was like, okay, what's there to lose? I attend this training, maybe I'll learn something new. And so I show up, and of course I have this ton of experience with digital marketing and stuff. And it's at this hotel at like, it was like a Hilton or something, where they rented out a ballroom. And before, you know, the 15 minutes before they opened the ballroom, it was just packed with tons of people. And I just got a nasty sense from the type of people that were there. It was a lot of these middle-aged, older people from all walks of life, mostly foreigners and people who you just got the sense, and I could be wrong because I didn't know them, but I just got the sense that they really, based off their age and stuff like that, you know, you had Indian fathers, clearly, you know, in their 40s or 50s, and people who seem to be from Sri Lanka and all these different countries. And you just got the sense that they probably didn't know much about internet marketing. So it was all kind of shrouded in mystery to them. And so I didn't get a good feeling from that. There's very few people my age there, which was quite interesting. there's like one or two people my age, and there's this young girl my age, and I was like, I'll be friendly, talk to her, like figure out like how did she find out about this? Maybe network, maybe have a positive attitude. And from the get go, I could sense that she was kind of taken aback by all this as well, very suspicious, because she was very on guard with me as well. She wouldn't tell me much about like how she found out about it. She was very vague about it. I found it. I think she mentioned she found it through social media or something. And we sat down, and there was a little bit of chat between me and her before it started. And I think like within like 5-10 minutes, she got up and left, and that was it. Like I never saw her again. As far as the seminar, it lasted for about an hour, maybe 30 minutes of talking. You had this young white male, maybe in his early 30s, very well groomed, had a suit on, and you could tell he just had this like sales instinct, huge, great composure, clear, concise communication, American. Now keep in mind the owner and creator of this whole thing, Matt Lloyd, I think his name is Australian. So they knew how to hire salespeople. But he spoke very well, very clearly. And you could tell the group there was like on the edge of their seat, interested. And he was throwing out a lot of big numbers of money you could make. And the issue with me though, and I was kind of flabbergasted because no one else really seemed to notice or get the same sense, and I was kind of confused why they didn't. But the substance of his trading was, when you like pulled behind the curtain, the basic substance of the trading was super basic and vague. It was stuff like, it's not PPC, pay per clip, that's going to get you the money. And then they would explain what pay per click was, and then like they would say, it's not social media that will get you the money. And then they'll explain how to, like a very basic definition on what that is. Then they give some tips on, there's a secret way to get the marketing, which they would never really explain. And then they would just teach you some very basics on how to market. Like, here's social media marketing. You put out stuff every day. You use the hashtags. Write a blog post. Make sure there's a keyword in there, and that will be SEO, and it'll get you right. It was very basic level of digital marketing. And I don't know if it was the way it was described or the way he packaged it, or really I think the main thing was the fact that a lot of these younger or older foreign individuals just found it so confusing that they were so kind of confused by it that they bought into the shroud of mystery. And so long story short, he ended with the whole classic, I don't know if you could call it Russell Brunson, but a lot of people do this where they'll pitch after the thing, and then they'll pitch something worth that's priced at $2,000. And I was flabbergasted with how many of them rushed to the back of the room and bought. At first it started off slow. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like no one would buy this, right? And a lot did. And I guess that just kind of spells the dangerous nature of having the ability to sell well at high ticket, and sell something that's really not really worth it. So long story short, I just had a bad feeling throughout, and I was like, maybe I can network or do something, but I was just not feeling good. And part of me was still thinking like, oh, it might be something worthwhile. So I definitely wasn't going to purchase, but I was like, maybe I could talk to this speaker. Like he has something that just works, the clear, concise language. And I was thinking maybe I'll go talk to him, pick his brain a bit, maybe at least get some selling experience or selling tips, or find out more about him, because he had it all put together. And then a line started forming around him, and eventually I decided, I'm not going to wait 2-3 people to talk to him. It's something just didn't feel right. And so I left. And then that was the end of it. At that time in my life, most people were probably my age, drinking, partying, who knows what, playing video games. It was like a weekday evening. And I chose to attend that, putting myself out there to see if I could invest and grow and succeed in the future. Turned out to be a huge flop. I'm so happy I didn't purchase from them. Because I didn't hear about them again for many years. And I just heard that the FTC is basically seizing all their assets. And if you search them up and see the FTC report, it's pretty bad. They're basically saying that it was basically a giant pyramid scheme where, you'd start off with paying that $49 offer, which would lead to more upsells worth thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. When they would finally reveal their proven system, turns out it would basically be trying to sell that same thing to other people, and you would make a commission off of it. So their system was basically, sell their system to more people. And the really only true tangible value was teaching them some basic to intermediate level of digital marketing to market that pyramid scheme to others. And long story short, what seems to have happened is tens of millions of dollars were seized or paid to FTC. They were banned from teaching this or coaching in the US. And then from what I heard from the article I read, one of the founders that was charged passed away, and they weren't able to disclose. I think for personal reasons they chose not to disclose why he passed away, but he passed away, and apparently, because of that founder got off or wasn't able to be. I mean, I think his assets were still seized to an extent, and then. That's that. I haven't checked on John Chow or Matt Lloyd for years, so I checked John Chow's YouTube and Matt Lloyd's Instagram, and now John Chow seems to have converted his channel to talk a lot more about just supercars. So he's always attending like supercar conventions and just talking about cars. But it doesn't seem like he's hinting that he's earning money anymore. He's just like filming videos about cars. Somehow he's kind of gotten scot-free without maybe tarnishing his reputation that much. It's hard to tell. And then Matt Lloyd, kind of same thing. Like, you look at his Instagram, he has 8,000 followers. He's still posting pictures of like different retreats and vacations he's going on, and occasionally promoting what seems like his course and trainings. So maybe he's just continuing in different countries. I haven't really looked into it much, so I probably you probably would need to do more research just to verify. But that's my story in a nutshell. I'm glad I trusted my gut. But it's an interesting world out there. It really makes me think. There's definitely some skeevy people in this market, and then there's potentially some good people. There's people like Pat Flynn, there's people like Ramit Sethi, and there's people like Daryl Eves and Tim Schmoyer who have charged these prices for many years, over a decade, and they've managed to keep a good reputation despite all this. And I think part of that is because they've been able to deliver enough value for their customers that at least enough of them are satisfied with paying that $2,000 price for their course. It's still a very strange market because that's a massive price to pay, but I guess that's just what they found to be the easiest way to make a lot of money, but also something that works for them. And I've taken courses from Ramit and Pat. Not a lot of them. I bought one from Ramit and one from Pat. And I personally have always liked Pat Flynn the best. I mean, it's fluctuated over the years, but Pat Flynn, his courses they've always been more affordable. I think mine was $295 or $395, and he puts in a lot of value in his courses. He really makes sure to uh, deliver so much with his free content. He has hundreds of podcasts and articles and um, thorough tips, and then he has his own income statements to prove uh, his success. So, you know, it's a more honest, ethical approach. It's definitely got me thinking about a lot of things, including what's right and wrong. You know, that salesperson at that seminar, he was clearly very good at selling, that and that company found him, hired him, and he probably made a lot of money each time he sold. But then there are the ethics around it, and at that point in life, I think that was really what was holding me back. Because of my study of Warren Buffett, I knew that ethics really matters a lot in business in the long run. And even though in that moment some would say he was killing it, you know, closing that many people, I felt there was a piece missing, and it wouldn't bite him in the butt today, but it would in the future. There's a great quote by Warren Buffett that says, "There's plenty of money to be made center court," which basically means that you don't need to compromise your ethics to make a lot of money. And that's something that I've always treasured and learned. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.